barakatuh. Inshallah, you are well. It's another reading session today, and I'm here to continue with the reading from yesterday. We were reading chapter 5, and we weren't finished. So I'm going to continue reading today, chapter 5, and then go on to start chapter 6, inshallah, time permitting, okay? So if you're joining me, please let me know where you're joining me from, and then also give me a like, a the emoji thing, and then let me know if you're hearing me, okay? All right. If you have any question regarding pregnancy and birth in this book that we have already discussed, reading and commentary. Okay, we did a whole lot of commentary. And when I'm reading, I explain a whole bunch. If you're interested in starting all of the chapters that we have already passed, you can go ahead and check my playlist. I have put all of the readings in a playlist, okay? And you check it out and then join. All right. Okay. Yeah. We read chapter 5. Sorry. We have finished chapter 5. We're moving on to chapter 6. We have finished chapter 5 yesterday. We are moving on to chapter 6 today. And I'm going to read for about an hour and then call it a day, inshallah. So if you're joining me, please let me know. Come join so we read and we interact and we learn together. All right. I hope my microphone is working and you can hear me. Is it good? No? Okay. It's okay. You don't have to track it. I think it's working. Eh? It's okay. You don't have to track it. It's fine. I think it's working, so it's gonna work. If it doesn't work, I'll come back again and read it again. It's fine. Better than one. Go ahead and do what you need to do. Okay? Eh? Yeah. All right. So I'm just checking in because I want to make sure that the volume is working and everybody can hear me, because it happened to me last time when I came on live. I was just talking. I wasn't looking on the screen, and by the time I realized, I was being signaled that my volume wasn't working. Nobody was hearing me. I was just on and on and on and on, and nothing. All the beneficial information that I shared, nada, nothing. Okay? So I want to make sure that it's working. All right. So let me make sure I'm sharing this on the posts, and then also, and then I am going to share. I don't think it's going to work over here. All right, so it's good. All right, so I'm going like straight up to start reading. I will omit certain words that I feel like don't align with my page. Okay, so if you are reading along with me, I wouldn't be saying certain things that, certain words that are here that don't align with my page, don't align with my values. I'll just keep them or replace it with something else. Chapter 6. I'm going to start reading chapter 6. All right, so chapter 6, it says, The birth canal do open. I'm changing, switching, whatever word she's using. The birth canal do open. Babies do come out. VBAC without fear. Sometimes I use those words when it's really, I don't have any word, other words to use. But for the sake of being a little, no, I don't want to attract those people. And then also I don't want YouTube to censor my stuff too much. So I would choose not to use certain words, and then if those words are not good. I have my babies, girls here. Also, I have to be very, very careful with the words in books like this. Okay? All right. So, chapter 6. The birth canal do open, babies do come out, VBAC without fear. Last time I explained what VBAC is. VBAC is the term for giving birth, the vaginal birth after C-section. Okay, so when you give birth the first time through C-section and you want to give birth through the birth canal, sometimes it's hard for providers to actually accept and say that that's good, that's beautiful, we're gonna try it and see what's going on. And sometimes it's just a diagnosis that stays with you forever, right? But it doesn't have to, because research now, we have a lot of studies that shows that no, it doesn't have to. You can actually try labor and then see if you can even have a full-blown labor and have your baby through that birth route. Okay, so if you want to go in that route, there's a little bit of work you have to do. You have to plan, you have to find a doctor who supports that VBAC and all of those things. You have to also want to work with a doula who can give you an insider tips and tricks of how to prepare really and have that confidence of going in and owning your birth, okay? And the birth of your baby. You wonder how much longer you can do this. You can't feel the baby's head yet. You have no choice but to be in the moment. Then, just when you can't, you do. Transition of a woman in birth, motherhood, and life. I'm going to be completely real with you. If you want to birth your child vaginally after previously having had a C-section, a process known as we've discussed previously as a VBAC, you will probably have to fight for it. Like I said, you have to fight for it. Especially if you are in this country, America, in Europe, in Canada, and those kind of countries, it's hard. Okay, it's hard to actually get it your way. You have to fight it. And then also if you're giving birth in the hospital system, you have to fight it. Fighting doesn't mean you going to fight with your doctor, but you have to do your best, what is in your control, to get what you want for your birth. Okay? All right. But I will also tell you this. You are strong and you are capable. Believe in your cervix. Believe in you. Feel absolute conviction in your goal to have a vaginal birth. When it comes to VBAC, we've come a long way, but we have so much further to go. You will never be able to have a home birth. My OBGYN told me as she operated on me during my second cesarean birth. Amen. Come. Over here. Can you just hold space for me for a moment? Because that's not just a bad bedside manner. It's a bad human decency. Yeah, especially if a woman is in labor, if a woman is giving birth to a human being, right? And there's no sympathy, there's no empathy, there's nothing, there's no compassion, and you just outright speak those words to a woman. Imagine at that critical, vulnerable stage. That is not that is not a decent thing to do at all. Not even to your enemy, I feel, right? So sometimes, yeah, we know that a doctor should know better. Sometimes, yeah, we encounter doctors that are not really very compassionate. They are not passionate about their job. And as a birthing mother, you have to know those things when they come up, and then try to either educate yourself, empower yourself, or just switch. Just like I said last time I was reading, fire your doctor, fire your provider. If you feel like they are devaluing you, they are shaming you, they are not supportive, fire them. Fire them. Allah is with you. And you remember, going back to the brain acronym, making istikhara and choosing right by what is really what Allah is telling you in that moment. If you really know that you have surrendered to Him, it's not too hard. Yeah. And Allah is gonna make you to be able to have a doctor who is more passionate, who is very supportive and understanding, and bringing out all of those other options that can be done to have that beautiful baby and beautiful birth that you wish to have. All right, so that is not something that a doctor should say to any woman at all. So you will never be able to have a home birth. My OBGYN told me as she operated on me during my second cesarean birth. Can you just hold space for me for a moment? Because that's not just a bad bedside manner. It is bad human decency. There I was, over 42 weeks pregnant, after 3 days of labor, and now in the hospital, numb, exhausted, being cut open in a cold OR, completely vulnerable. And my care provider was judging me, my body, my future pregnancies and births. I looked at her and said, "Can we discuss this later?" It was all I could think to say in the moment. Let me hold space for you too. It is all too common for women wanting a vaginal birth after C-section to have a fight an uphill battle, to have to fight an uphill battle. In my case, that battle started before my C-section had even ended, against misinformation, stigma, and just straight up doubt from those with medical authority. That's that's not that's not good at all. Okay, so know that you will fight for this not just for you, but for your children and for future generations. Women have been fighting for rights over their bodies and lives since we came into existence. It can be disappointing when we have to fight to use our voices or to be heard or to have a say over our birth experience. But you are in a long, long line of generations of women before you who had to do the same. You will need to fight not only the system, but also your own inner voice and fears, your own internalized doubts and insecurities. You will need to be in a very strong mental place. You will need to fight to find peace and a belief in your ability to birth this baby out of you. We owe it to the women who went before us, to our daughters and to ourselves to fight for this. The fact that you are willing to go through what you are going through, that makes you amazing. This is not about VBAC versus C-section birth. Birth is not a competition. This is specifically for women who have a desire for this type of birth and need to be held up by the strong voices of those who have been in their shoes. VBAC is its own category distinct from birth canal birth, vaginal birth, not just statistically but mentally. Because when you are fighting for your VBAC, you are already a parent. You have a child, but you've never given birth vaginally. And that can be hard to wrap your mind around. When you birth this baby, even though you are a mom, it's like you are a first-time birthing mom, probably with some emotional baggage on top. It is a lot to work through. And so a VBAC birth requires its own energy and its own preparation. It will bring up its own questions, concerns, and fears. It is different, and we can and should honor that. Okay. All right, let me see. Okay. When a hospital puts a VBAC ban into effect or an OB practice doesn't support women in planning for a VBAC, they are taking away your options. Removing options is never the answer. Taking an option away from a woman regarding her body, her autonomy, her pregnancy, and her birth is wrong. I understand that these hospitals and practices think they are doing a good thing, but all they are really doing is backing women into a corner. In that corner, it should be said, when banning VBACs or not supporting VBACs is a surgery. We have become so desensitized to the fact that we are asking a woman to have surgery. Surgery is not without its own problems and risks. If they are trying to make it safer by taking the option and possibility of vaginal birth away, but actually making it less safe by forcing women to have surgery, then this is no VBAC. That this is no VBAC edict is actually counterproductive. All it's going to do is create more problems. Why is it so hard to support women? Crawl up out of there. Unsupportive providers. My cervix never said, hey, it is cool with you, hospital, if I have this baby this way. It's really weird, the restrictions we try to put on women's body, especially the cervix of women. But sometimes the doubt doesn't come from the hospital or your care provider. It comes from within. Question like, is something wrong with me? Or am I crazy to have to even try this? Can plague women who want to try for a VBAC. Okay, let me read it again. But sometimes the doubt doesn't come from the hospital or your care provider. It comes from within. Questions like, is it something wrong with me? Or am I crazy to even want to try this? Can plague women who want to try for a VBAC. The truth is that the facts support success for VBAC. The truth is that the fact supports success for VBAC. But in order to make this part of your birth journey, you will need an extra boost of information, support, and positivity. It's just it takes every ounce of mental strength to birth a baby vaginally after one or more C-sections. The last thing a birthing mother needs is opposition from her providers or herself. All this talk about goddesses and queens, but are we really treating ourselves and each other that way? There is the care provider who says, wow, she has worked so hard. she has mentally prepared, physically prepared to open and birth her baby. And somewhere along the line, she was failed. So we need to lift up her. We need to lift her up while she goes through this experience. That's treating women like a goddess and queens. Not well. You are a VBAC. You are overweight. You go prostate. What's wrong with you? The moment when a woman feels like she's failing, that's when you treat her like a goddess. When she's suffering and having a hard time, that's when you treat her like a queen. If no one else will believe in you, I will. Draw on those generations of women before you who fought, and for the generations to come who will look to you to see what you did. That fighting spirit in you should be more reason for the birth team to cheer and support you, rather than a reason to judge and shame you. VBAC birth plan philosophy. Your VBAC birth plan philosophy would be much like a husband birth plan and or home birth plan. If you are hoping to birth at home, however, if you are a VBAC mama, you may want to be extra intentional about creating space for yourself in your birth plan philosophy, because you already have one or more surgical births in your history, and now you are fighting really hard for a different kind of experience. You may be bringing additional fears and anxieties into your VBAC. You may be struggling with how to handle expectations, doubts, and hopes. You may very adamantly not want anyone in your space to even mention the word cesarean unless it's truly a medical emergency, and you can make space for any of these or other concerns in your birth plan. If you write this into your birth philosophy, for example, if you have a PTSD from a previous surgical birth and you will need extra space to make decisions or process feelings, that lets everyone on your birth team and everyone who will be caring for you in labor and birth know how best to support you. A VBAC birth plan philosophy is not the space to avoid previous births. It's the place to make space for everything you've learned about yourself from them. If you can find a VBAC friendly provider, that means you will have to fight less. Check with your local ICANN, International Caesarean Awareness Network, yes, group to get recommendations for care providers supportive of VBAC, okay? So if you're looking to get a care provider who supports VBAC, this is the network that you want to check. They have a website. It's called ICANN. ICANN is International Caesarean Awareness Network. You can check that and see if you can get a provider in your area that will support you with your VBAC idea, or I mean, it's not idea, your VBAC philosophy and the plan of having a VBAC, okay? And then also you can get a doula in that case as well, who is very informative or very knowledgeable about VBAC births, okay? If you are using a doula, ask them for recommendations, right? So if you already have a doula would be able to know some of the doctors in the area or some of the midwives in the area, or even maybe do the research for you to find out if there is any care provider who can be supportive to you and the kind of birth you want. If you're using a doula, ask them for recommendations. Actually, even if you are not using a doula, go ahead and call one up and ask them for a list of their top 3 care providers. Don't be afraid to ask around, to call doulas, midwifery practices, and friends and family who've had babies in the past few years. We need to do this work to create little networks of empowering women-centered care providers in our own cities and towns. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I feel like, yeah, this is something that I can even mobilize and do. Yeah. The first time I was reading this, I thought about a lot of things though. Yeah. With birth comes uncertainty. Birth is unpredictable. All you can do is look at your body, your history, and your experience and come up with an individualized care plan with your provider. When talking to your care provider about VBAC, you may want to know, are they willing to talk about what your pregnancy looks like, how your baby responds to labor, and how your body handles it all? You may want to ask, what are my chances and why? What are my risks and why? What are my favors and why? This conversation should be an evaluation of those risks and possibilities among yourself and your providers. You want someone who will say, let's look at these numbers, let's look at you, and then let's come up with a plan for you. That's very important, right? Again, I'm going to mention that acronym. The BRAIN acronym is BRAIN, spelled as brain, really, is BRAIN. And the acronym stands for BRAIN is benefit, and the R is risk, the A is alternatives, I is instinct or istikhara for us Muslims, and the N is doing nothing now or never, right? So whenever you are doing something, you want to be very informed. You want to make an informed decision, especially when it comes to your care and the care of your baby and the care of your pregnancy and even your previous pregnancies, what happened before, what you want to do differently now. You have to try and bring this acronym in mind and say, what are the benefits? Why did that happen before? Was there any benefit? Okay, this time I want to analyze what that benefits are. Is it beneficial to me? Is it not beneficial to me? Okay, if it is beneficial, yes, okay, fine. But with every benefit, there's risk. What risk does this bring to me and my baby? And then when you finish analyzing that, you find out what are the alternatives. Okay, fine. They mentioned this, but possibly there is other options that I can choose as well that are not as high with risk as this one. Or maybe even there is risk, but that might be a little easier, less stressful route. So maybe I'm going to choose that. What are those alternatives? And then you move on to, all right. I'm recording with my phone and a call just came in, even though I put this thing on airplane mode. Please, if you are watching me, let me know if you can still hear me, because this thing happened last time and it messed up everything that I was doing. So if you're here listening to me, please do me a favor and just type in, I can hear you, and or give me a thumbs up with the like button. Please let me know, okay? If you cannot hear me, I'll end the session and then start all over again. Or start from where I have stopped. Okay. Okay, good. Thank you. All right. Thank you very much. All right. Okay. So let me move on. What if, and this happens to so many women, you think you have a VBAC friendly provider and then you get to 36 plus weeks and suddenly scheduling a cesarean is brought up, completely throwing you off your mental preparation. Or if your care provider starts talking about giving you a trial of labor, that's tour, in which they have a labor under the supervision of an OB with restrictions and limits to determine your chances of having a successful vaginal birth. Or if you are told by a provider certainly at some point in the process that you will have to be hooked up to IV, and can't change positions after you express a different preference and thought you were on the same page. This is why it's so vital to have a provider and team 100% on board with your plan. If a straightforward conversation about this doesn't feel productive, changing providers is always an option. And what if you can't find a VBAC friendly provider? What if you live in an area that isn't VBAC supportive? Build a really strong birth team. Hire a doula or two. Make sure you have a friend or partner who is completely on your team. Have people you can bounce ideas off. If you have to travel to a supportive OB or hospital, that's okay. Do it. I have known women who have traveled 3 hours to a supportive care provider. They feel, and I agree that that's important. And that's they feel that it is that important. I know a woman who rented a hotel room across the street from a hospital for her home birth because her home wasn't close enough to a hospital and she wanted to be able to move quickly and easily if necessary. Sometimes when options are taken away, you have to get creative. Look at your own situation and see what works for you. Now, if VBAC poses true concerns for the health of you and your baby, that is different. Never lose sight of your intuition, even if it's telling you something you may not want to hear. Very, very important. Right. Self-care with VBAC. VBAC requires an extra dose of fierceness. VBAC requires an extra dose of fierceness because you are not just going for a vaginal birth. You are going for a vaginal birth with a history that could work against you. You want to make sure no one's negativity or doubt creeps into your space. So let me put it in all caps. Make your bubble. Say to yourself, the only people who can be in this bubble are people who believe in my ability to birth this baby out of my body. Strongly protect your mental space. But there is a part two to this fierce attitude. I call it fierce, but being reasonable. In other words, part of planning a VBAC is a kind of single-mindedness about your birth experience. That nothing's going to stop you from birthing this baby. You need that yes I can attitude. You need to put on your loudest pump me up song or Quran or whatever. Put on your virtual boxing gloves and give yourself and everyone around you a riveting locker room speech about overcoming adversity or whatever type of metaphor works for you. As a result, VBAC women can get a little intense and single-minded because you become a woman on a mission. I know you need that passion for the sake of your own self-care though. Be strong, but never lose sight of your intuition. If you do end up needing a C-section, it's okay. It's okay if you end up making that choices for yourself, or if not, it doesn't happen. Or if not, it doesn't happen. You plan and work, and yes, even obsess for 9 to 10 months, and bam, life reminds you we only have so much control. You may be at peace with that. You may not find peace about it for some time. Both are okay. You are allowed to change your mind at any time. You are allowed to be disappointed and hurt if things don't go as planned. Life is unpredictable. Make sure you have people around you who have unwavering belief in your ability to birth your baby, and who know that if everything needs to be changed, it will be okay. It's still your choice, and you still deserve to be heard. Remember that icon chapter. Remember that icon chapter you checked out when looking for a VBAC friendly provider. They also have support for CBACs, that's cesarean birth after cesarean, or a cesarean birth despite working toward a VBAC. Help and support are out there. You are not alone. Your emotional needs are valid and you deserve the space to process and heal. Okay. So we are done with chapter 6. Chapter 6 is pretty short. It's not very long reading. And we are moving on to chapter 7. I am going to disconnect the call. I'm going to disconnect the live and come back right away. I know that it is going to Zuhur already. I'll come back. I think I have put some restrictions on my life that makes me to feel like I'm not really communicating with you, right? So I want to look into that and see if I can fix it, and then come back again later to read chapter 7, inshallah. Please make it a point to join me. If you did not get the chance to join live, please make it a point to watch the replay and engage. If you are not subscribed, please subscribe, like the video so YouTube will push it to the women, the sisters who actually need this information, because this is the kind of information us women need, right? But unfortunately, we don't have that, right? So come on and let's discuss, let's read, let's learn together, and let's empower ourselves with beneficial knowledge in this area of our life. In that inevitable topic that we don't get the chance to even have it discussed around our peers, around our parents, or anything else. All right. So inshallah, I will see you soon. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.